Welcome to Thinking, Feeling, Moving. Today I am speaking with Linda Weiner. Welcome, Linda. Thanks for having a conversation with me today.
Thank you.
Linda, you recently wrote a blog called Self-Touch, Surviving the COVID-19 Pandemic as a Single Person. It's a really good read.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a few questions about the blog initially. Can you talk to the point of why touch is so important for our health?
Surely. Most of us recognize how primal touch is. I mean, it is the essence of what allows us to thrive as newborns without physical touch, a new baby, skin on skin contact, also some facial connection. It allows babies to bond, to feel safe, to be able to take in the nutrition from whatever, whether breast or formula. And it is essential for our very survival. That's how important touch is.
Essential for our very survival. So what happens when we are deprived of touch?
Well, we see this a lot with pre-pandemic with the elderly, that people who went without touch would try to supplement with hairdressers and masseuses and various other, having their hair done, various other ways to keep themselves in connection with another human being involving touch. And without that, depression often sets in. We see this quite a bit in the elderly when they don't reach out and get friend connection, heart connection, and physical touch connection. Depression, and that's usually followed by some illness and early death. So I think that touch is not only essential for us being able to take in formula or breast milk and thrive and survive, but also when deprived of touch, we have a tendency to become depressed. Our immune system is negatively affected. We withdraw from the social connection to other people. My goodness, I have a 21-year-old cat who's deaf. So,
that's okay. I've had a power blackout as we've been talking now because of where I am.
So we'll have to wait till she's
That's okay.
the last limb, and so I don't know what to do right at this moment, because if I put her in a room, she'll just scream. So let's try that again, and she usually gives up after a moment or two. So we were talking about touch and the essentialness of touch and what happens to people when they don't have touch. I also want to bring up a study. Most of us who took psychology remember there was a study of Harlow's monkeys in which a monkey was deprived of parental touch, and a wire monkey or a wire monkey with a terry cloth towel was placed in with the young monkey. And what happened to the young monkey is they, without deprived of touch, they became mentally unbalanced and unable to mate and form the next generation. So you see from that study, a study which would never be allowed today, I hope, but it did show us how important touch is for primates, and we can assume for human babies. There's also a study of what they called marasmus babies, children who were orphaned during World War II, who were placed in an orphanage in France. They were short-staffed, and they just put, a formula, and the baby, if they couldn't hold it themselves, they arranged a prop. So there was no physical touch involved with feeding the babies. And these babies, even though they were getting nutrition, their bodies weren't able to absorb it, and they literally went within themselves. They developed a kind of a facial gesture that was showing that something was definitely wrong, and they passed more often than not. So those are the two studies that we have from history that tell us without touch, you are not able to join society and maintain your mental health.
It's so important to be touched, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Your immense work in writing the book and your work with Masters and Johnson, talking now about Sensate Focus.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain what that type of therapy is, perhaps for people who are watching this and they're not aware of what it is?
Sure enough. Okay.
Thank you.
Sensate Focus Touch is a series of structured touching suggestions that individuals or couples can engage in. And they start with wherever the couple or the person feels they can begin. But the idea is to be able to touch the body all over, or touch a partner's body all over without breast and genitals at first. Learning to just turn off your brain, tune into your body, and that is where our relaxation response will occur. That is the way in which we will begin to feel bonded to ourselves or our partner. That is the way in which, after relaxation is achieved, sexual tension can be produced, and helps a lot of individuals or couples with low desire able to reconnect with their bodies and begin to have some sort of body experience, body awareness that leads naturally to some of the other things I mentioned related to, well, I didn't mention some of these. Touch has been related to the increase of dopamine, which is the feel-good chemical in the brain, which allows the person to then feel relaxed and connected to themselves or their partner. Studies have shown that touch builds immunity, which is, I think, especially important during COVID time.
Absolutely.
Thing that builds immunity. Because dopamine is released in the brain, it also has a tendency to decrease the tendency toward depression and increase someone's sense of peacefulness, being in a relaxed, peaceful state of mind and being. Also, as I mentioned, bonding can occur because oxytocin, the bonding chemical, is released through touch. It improves circulation, organ function, it detoxifies the body, and it aids in sleep. It's the perfect, be all, whether it is self-touch or it is part.
Well, I wanted to ask a little more about the self-touch. So if you are, say, for example, in lockdown, in isolation, and you don't have another partner, maybe you're not interested in having another partner. So how does Sensate Focus work if you are solo?
Well, if you are solo, we already do Sensate Focus Touch in a way. Men with facial hair will often be doing this. Okay. We ourselves might, give ourselves a little scalp massage when we're stuck in some way, shape, or form. If you notice, many people do, without even noticing, engage in self-touch. It's a sort of a calming, soothing benefit. And a lot of people use self-touch. When we talk about using self-touch and Sensate Focus, it's actually being able to, perhaps with minimal clothing on or nude, maybe following a bath or shower or a yoga session in which you are relaxed and in a mindful state of being, touching your whole body, maybe even minus your breasts or genitals. It's not a sexual thing to initially begin. You touch your whole body and you focus yourself on three things: temperature, where on your body are you warmer and where are you cooler? What's the texture of the hair on your head compared to the hair on your forearm? What is the texture of skin in various places? And while focusing on the temperature, texture, and the third dimension being pressure. What does it feel like to me when I use a firmer versus a lighter touch? As you're focused on those things, your mind is less likely to go off to, something negative or non-productive or stressful. So it is basically a mindfulness meditation on sensation rather than a mindfulness meditation on sound or on something visual. And it brings you to a place of relaxation in your body. And sometimes there are feelings of arousal that pop up, but they come and they go. That's not really the point of it initially. The point is to establish yourself as grounded within your body, with your mind turned off. I liken it to reaching the state of flow that people can relate to when you say to most people, when you turn on the shower and you get the temperature just right, do you ever put your head back and just go, ah? And people laugh.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, they can relate to that. I said, are you thinking? No, you are in pure sensation in your body, in the moment. And that is the state that self-touch or partner touch can bring about. So you can help yourself move to a better place through self-touch without any goals or evaluation or expectations about how it should be, but it's whatever it is in the moment, without evaluating it. And so ultimately the body can turn on, Sensate Focus will allow for enough stimulation when reaching a threshold, the body can turn on. And, if that is something you'd like to see happen, then you may include the genitals and the breasts or any erogenous zone in your touching. But it is a slow process that doesn't necessarily have to get sexual, but if distracting thoughts or upset feelings have been in the way, this process can clear that, so that for some people who are wanting to regain or appreciate the sexual release that also releases lots of dopamine and relaxes every muscle in the body, it's a form of self-care. For those of us who are sexologists, it is a way of greatly creating peacefulness and full body relaxation.
So important and so beautiful. Thank you for explaining that. You've given us some beautiful strategies of how to feel better when we may be by ourselves and we may be stuck, or if we're in a situation where we are by ourselves and we don't want to have another partner as well, that we can still feel good inside our own bodies. Thank you. I wanted to ask, is Sensate Focus useful even if, say, for example, if you might be a person that doesn't like to be touched, maybe you don't like to touch yourself, or if you don't like to be touched by other people, can it still work for people who feel this way?
Who don't like to be touched and don't like to be touched by other people?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Some people find that Sensate Focus works for them because, let's say, there's been some sexual trauma and they've been alienated from their body and are concerned about partner sex or partner touch. This can be a very good way of sort of having it be for you rather than for someone else, and kind of recapturing your sensual self or your sexual self for yourself, but taking it very, very slowly in the way that you want to do it. And maybe it's not sexual at all, ever, or maybe just getting to re-enter the body without your mind flashing back or dissociating is a way to begin to reclaim your physical body for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
I think you also asked if you don't like to be touched.
Yes.
Let's say you're somebody that is not a neurotypical individual who might, or a person with great sensitivity to touch, then we do have options. There's a bodysuit that's designed to cut down on the kind of stimulation that a non-neurotypical person might experience, wearing a bodysuit and being touched, or doing a body map where there are areas that are sort of off limits that are more sensitive to touch. Also, for people who don't like to be touched by other people, one of the couple's connections that can be made is the person who doesn't like to be touched may feel better about touching their partner rather than their partner touching them. And that's fine too. That's getting your touch, but not having to do something that creates too much anxiety, like having someone else touch you.
So what I'm hearing is that Sensate Focus is a way to reclaim your own body, to help move through perhaps some trauma that may have happened.
Yes.
And it's a way to navigate your way in touch with another person and to feel more comfortable about that. Okay. Exactly. And can feel good at the same time. Yay. It's wonderful. Linda, I also am a little curious because you've been in the industry for quite some time and you've seen a lot of change. Where do you see the future of sex therapy heading?
Well, I think there's been a resurgence in interest in sex therapy. I worry a little bit because it seems like, especially in the US, there's a movement afloat, a sex negative movement. I don't know where that will wind up. We've been through these cycles before. But I think most people, no matter what your political affiliation, most people want optimal intimacy and sexual expression in whatever context that they're comfortable with. Say the most traditional is within marriage, so everyone's in agreement. Viagra is one of the most popular pills ever. So I think most people are in agreement that they want functional sex. There are a lot of young cancer survivors, female cancer survivors now. For whatever reason, breast cancer has been striking a lot of women, and physicians are looking for some way to help them reestablish a sexual life because they're not wanting to give it up, but they are feeling very dead inside because of the treatment they experienced and the trauma to their body. So I think there's a greater interest in the medical field combining Sensate Focus and working with sex therapists and sex educators. They're much more comfortable, especially sexual medicine is a very growing field, and the cooperation between physical therapists, sex therapists, and educators, and physicians, OBGYNs, and gynecologists and urologists in particular, are becoming much more comfortable. I think there'll be more medicalization, which I worry about in some respects, but I'm old enough to recognize that every movement has a counter circle sooner or later. So the best in my impression, the best in my view would be combining our forces. We all have different knowledges, and yoga and mindfulness practice have been brought into the mainstream. And finally, a lot of Western medicine is like, well, this stuff does work to lower blood pressure and aid in feelings of well-being. So I think there will always be the folks that hold out and want a pure medical approach. But I think more and more people understand the importance of a coordinated effort in sex therapy and sexual medicine.
Thank you. And my last question to you is there something that you wish that people were talking about in the field of sex therapy that nobody's talking about, that you want to be put onto the agenda?
Wow, that's a big question. Talking about, I'd rather see more research actually to validate what we think we know and find the best approach that combines mind and body and medicine together. That is the area that I am most interested in, because I think that provides the most help. So I'd like people not to just talk about coordinating and consulting with one another, but to actually establish that as a practice.
So the biopsychosocial model.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. All right.
And it's
yes.
on the way. One more thing I would like to see in the future that's on the way, which is, I think there's going to be more and more availability of online opportunities to be exposed to Sensate Focus and sexual health practice. So that's another exciting potential in the future.
So watch this space. So what are you presently working on that you would like to share with people?
Yes, I'm currently working on getting the word out about Sensate Focus to a lot of different disciplines, which is why I was excited for this interview, because you are connected not only to the sexology folks, but also to the community. And so that's good. Getting it out to physicians is another goal of mine. And I've been writing a few articles for medical journals about Sensate Focus. So I think it's getting out there. I've been talking at a few conferences for sexual medicine. So that's very exciting, because those folks are the first line of defense for couples, individuals who are seeking help with their sexual issues.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you bring into the arena. You've already brought so much into the space. So, okay. Linda, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.